Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.
It's Kerry Lutz here. You're listening to the Financial Survival Network, and it's time for another Triple Lutz Report. This is episode number 372. The date is December 1st, 2014. I'm speaking at around 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this episode is brought to you by Cloud Hard Assets. If you're looking to buy gold, silver, diamonds, call Tom Cloud today. Tom's been in the business for 38 years. He can be reached, and you're almost certainly likely to talk to him at 800-247-2812. That's 800-247-2812. Look, in these times, you got to be looking at gold and silver. And recently, I've added diamonds to my portfolio because you can't trust these central bankers. You can't trust your government. Who can you trust? You got to trust yourself. And I've been hawking, I've been yelling, ranting, raving, gold, silver, now diamonds, colored diamonds, though colorless diamonds, too subject to the vagaries of the diamond cartel. Colored diamonds, much harder for them to control. I believe in them. Tom is really a guy of class, a Southern gentleman who's been in the business for 38 years, no BBB complaints. And if you hear my voice, if you're listening now, order from him. You get free shipping, free insurance on any order. Okay? So give Tom Cloud a call now. Check out his website. It'll show you the latest specials, cloudhardassets.com. Again, the number is 800-247-2812. And look, if you haven't been following precious metals prices, well, now might be a good time to start. Swiss referendum was bloodily voted down by 80%. I'm not going to cry fix. I don't know what took place in Switzerland. The immediate result was an attack on the price of gold. Gold was down nearly $40 the ounce. Silver down $1.50, over $1.50 the ounce. I mean, Chris Dwayne was out there talking about $14 silver. What happened? Well, when I woke up this morning and I walked over to Starbucks to see my peeps, gold was only down about $10 the ounce. Silver was down about $0.50 an ounce. I'm sitting there talking to my guys, and I check it out, and lo and behold, gold is up $25 the ounce, and silver is up 70, 80 cents an ounce. Now, as I'm talking to you at 2 p.m. on Monday, after the Swiss Gold Referendum, price of gold is up $50.30. That means for the past 30 days, gold is up $45.90. Even more remarkable is that silver is up 99 cents to $16.57. Is this the long-awaited bull market increase, bull market rise in gold and silver that we've been anticipating for the last 3.5 years? I don't know. I can't tell you. I'm not an expert in precious metals pricing. I'm not an expert in cycles. To know that, you have to be an expert in cycles. But what I do see is a lot of abnormal, just counterintuitive pricing taking place in these markets. And when you see that type of trend taking place, you got to stand up and take notice. I mean, there is just no other way that you can look at this thing, because the volatility, the VIX in gold and silver had up until 2 months ago, it was like non-existent. It was so stable. and they were just going down and going down. And, now we're in a whole different market. Market's trading differently and has been for the past couple of months. So you take it as you want. But in my opinion, the ultimate insurance policy against your government screwing up and messing up the value of the currency has to be gold, silver, and investment quality gemstones, right? There's nothing else. I mean, if you know of something else, well, I can't say there's nothing else. I do believe that real estate in select markets, and that doesn't necessarily mean Manhattan, LA, or Miami. I think those are hyped markets largely as a result of the instability of the system. But if you talk to somebody like our sponsor, Jason Hartman, at jasonhartman.com, he's got a very conservative means for you to realize returns of 10, 15% cash on cash. When you add in your tax bennies and you add in potential appreciation and more, it goes up from there. But I always look at cash on cash return first. Do I have a positive cash flow? From there, you move on. And, there's just very few places to put your money, in large measure because of financial repression. But I don't want to get into that. I want to get into the Swiss Gold Referendum. So foolishly, ignorantly, I really believed that it was going to pass because I just had a higher regard for the Swiss and their financial education than obviously they deserve. I don't really think it was fixed. I just think they were so confused and so disconnected from the use of gold to stabilize and to really control monetary systems that they didn't know what to do. And they just threw up their hands and say, well, the system we have now really sucks. But if we bring in this system, God knows it could be so much worse. And it's really a shame. I view this as the last opportunity for the system to right itself. Now there's literally no hope. We're just going to print money till calamity, till collapse. Man has proven himself incapable, unable to really manage his own affairs. I mean, look, you see it over and over and over again through history, and we will print, and the world will print because they're running from the deflationary tiger. And let's just take a look at what might have happened if the Swiss had passed their referendum, if they had succeeded in educating the public, the masses, in the value of gold to stabilize production of fiat currency units and to make them understand what a stable money supply could do. And what you would have had was immediately the Swiss franc would have gone way, way up in value. You would have had massive demand from investors around the globe looking to put their money into Swiss francs. And the reason why the Swiss pegged the Swiss franc to the euro in the first place is it's run by banksters and corporatists, who are the biggest corporations, the biggest financial institutions in Switzerland. Well, Nestle, and Nestle derives virtually all their profits from overseas markets, and eventually those profits get translated into Swiss francs. So if the Swiss franc is worth 3 times more than it is today, what happens to Nestle's profits? They all but disappear. And then what happens to the pharmaceutical companies? Big pharma is Switzerland's largest, or one of their largest industries, other than the financial sector. So Saiba, Gaiji, and all of these other Swiss pharma companies would see their international profits, when translated into Swiss francs, just take a total nosedive. And that is a problem, no question about it. On the other hand, go back to the 80s when the U.S. interest rates were up in double digits. What happened to the U.S. dollar? Well, the flow of funds into the United States was huge. The dollar became highly sought after, became extremely valuable. And as a result, it lifted the country out of a massive, well, shall we say, massive recession that it had fallen into, broke the back of inflation. It raised the value of the purchasing power of the dollar to unheard of levels, to levels that hadn't been seen until the end of World War II. And that's what would have happened in Switzerland. The Swiss franc would have had unheralded purchasing power, and the average Swiss citizen would have seen his standard of living, the things that he could buy or she could buy with those francs, just increased threefold or fourfold overnight. And as a result, rather than having competitive devaluations, the potential at least, and understand, I'm always the optimist. I always look for the best possible outcome, while understanding that, we could always get a negative outcome. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. That's what I always say. That's the way I live my life. It works for me, whether it works for you or not. Hey, whatever, not my concern. I'm just telling you how I do it. And I think that a result of the country's currency being backed even by 20% gold. And look, there is no such thing as a partial backing of a currency. It's like being half pregnant. So effectively, when you back your currency 1/5 with gold, you're just saying that really the currency unit is worth 5 times that in gold. That's what you're saying. There is no means of partial backing. It's all or nothing with precious metals. That's the way it works there. So I think that when other countries started to see the benefits of the Swiss franc and the stability of the franc and what it did for the country, yeah, corporate profits would be down. So what? Who cares? Let them adapt. Don't repatriate your profits, all right? You know what? Move your freaking headquarters out of Basel or out of Geneva. We don't care, all right? And the banksters there are already denationalized. Martin Armstrong says they need to have a referendum on bank secrecy. He didn't see any big deal to this. I personally did. It would stop dead in the tracks the Swiss government from taking on more debt, right? Because the currency would no longer be debt-based, meaning that the currency wouldn't be created as a result of debt being issued, as it is all over the world. We're all in debt-based currencies. Hope you understand that. The dollar is a Federal Reserve note. And what is a note? A note is evidence of an indebtedness. And every dollar that you and I have is borrowed into existence. Every euro, every Swiss franc now is borrowed into existence. Well, this would have totally stopped that. And the people of Switzerland, you can't really fault them for being scared to be the first ones. It's like, I remember in my law school exam, thousands of people over at the seaport, at the terminal that they use for cruise ships coming in. And I was done an hour and 45 minutes or maybe 2.5 hours before everyone. And I really wanted to just leave. And it wasn't that I was so brilliant. It was just that I happened to study the right questions because they had prior year's tests reconstructed. I happened to study the right 4 or 5 questions. I knew them cold. I had practiced written them at least 10 times each. I just knew it. But because I was a chicken, I didn't want to be the first one out. I thought it was bad luck. So I waited for, an hour and a half for finally people to start leaving. And then I handed in my books. So the Swiss just didn't want to be the first to do it. Well, some country out there has got to grow a set of stones, and they got to do this because it's our only means of savior. This is the only way to save the world, to save the economic system, because the alternative is so horrid, it's so bad, it's so awful that I don't want to think about it. Martin Armstrong talks about a potential Mad Max scenario. Well, it could be that. I mean, I don't know. I'd like to think not. But, one thing you can count on man to be doing is screwing things up. And I mean, just today, Moody's cut Japan's credit rating by a notch over rising doubts about its ability to reduce debt levels. Well, that's a joke. Countries never reduce debt levels, but they have the worst debt to GDP among the major nations, and it's been able to weather that given the fact that most of its debt is a real Ponzi scheme, as Martin Armstrong says, being held domestically. And nobody, as he says, intends to ever reduce their debt levels. So he says, let's just downgrade all sovereign debt. It's a huge joke on everyone. Martin, please get an editor. Please, please, please. So, it's a scam. It's, I used to say that the dollar was the best looking horse in the glue factory. And now the dollar is the cleanest shirt in the laundry. And I just, so enjoy reading Martin's work. As he says, so buckle up. We are on the ride of our lives, and it does not appear that anyone is driving. This is a runaway train soon to leave the tracks. And, he's saying gold. Answer, yes, this is the pop. We got the panic down on Friday, the Monday low. We need a closing above 1208 to suggest pressing higher. Welcome to the new age of rising volatility. This now cleans out the shorts. Resistance stands at 1217. A close above that should signal some further upside. Martin, we just might do it all in one day, which is pretty spectacular. I mean, let's get an update on gold prices here. They're changing so quickly, I can't keep track of them. Right now, gold's standing about $1215.50. It's up $46.50 on the day. The COMEX has closed. Silver $16.52, up 94 cents. If you're playing the paper games, then this is important. If you're playing the physical, not important. But remember what happened. India got rid of all controls on the purchase of gold. Right. We talked about this with John Rubino. I think it was on Thursday that they did it, or Friday. It got buried in all the news over the Swiss Gold referenda. And, it turned out that the Swiss Gold referenda made absolutely no difference in the scheme of things. And here we are, it's Monday, it's December 1st, and we're in a new world, it almost seems. I think we're going to have Mickey Fulp. Are we talking to Mickey? I hope today. Mickey, we're talking with him at 5 p.m. It's just amazing that the gold bears got cleared out on Friday, and now the bulls are apparently in charge of the train. And, this is just going to be the most interesting ride of your life. Just get ready for it because it's going to be spectacular. Hey, I want to talk a little bit about Ferguson. I am a reformed lawyer. I'm still admitted to practice, although I think I'm going to get rid of that soon. I just don't see a point. But look, I mean, let's look at the evidence here. I'm no fan of authoritarian states. I'm no fan of this government, either at the federal or state level. I mean, and the police are merely the agents that keep the authoritarian state going, right? So understand that my predisposition is against the police, and not on a personal level, because I know there's a lot of you listening to this show, and our good friend Mark and George and others train police, and individually, so many of you are put in situations that you don't want to be. You want to protect and serve. You don't want to be the enforcement wing of the New World Order, but that's what they've got planned for you. So police, look, I hang out in the Starbucks where I live. We got cops coming in there. We're good friends with them. But, the militarization and all that of local police forces, really gives me pause for thought. And it should give you pause as well. But Ferguson, Michael Brown, the gentle giant, was such a sweet boy. He was a choir boy. Well, don't be taken in by this. Looked at the evidence, read a lot of the grand jury testimony, and there's been a lot of work done. There's one outfit called conservativetreehouse.com did a phenomenal job. Here's the deal. Okay. Darren Wilson, call goes out. There's been a strong arm robbery of this convenience market. The guys took a lousy pack of cigars. It doesn't matter the value of what you stole. It wasn't shoplifting. The gentle giant physically intimidated and shook the proprietor of the convenience mart, who happened to be an Indian gentleman, forcibly took the item out of the store without paying for it. That's a robbery. It's a felony. And as George Mathias said, once Darren Wilson realized that these were felons and recently committed a robbery, he should have put the SUV between the robbers and him, and he should have gone out with his gun drawn and said, "Get your asses on the ground." He didn't do it. Big mistake. All right. He didn't want to be overpowering, overwhelming with the use of force, but this is what cops are supposed to do. But what happens? Michael Brown attacks him. And we know this happened because, how do we know? Because 2 gunshots were fired in the car. All right. And there's an injury to Michael Brown's hand, and there's powder residue on the injury. The medical examiner already said that type of injury happens when a weapon is fired at a person at close range. They get a powder burn. All right. So the guy had his hand in the car, and that's where he got shot. Then he backs off, he runs off, and Wilson gets out to pursue him. And what does he do then? He turns around, charges Wilson, and gets shot. Ample witness testimony to that fact. The degree and the angle of the bullet shots indicate that this guy was hunched down, charging at the police officer. Okay, enough forensic evidence, enough eyewitness testimony, and just enough physical facts. The other thing is this Dorian guy who was with Michael Brown when he committed the robbery and helped them commit it also was in on the attack, because Conservative Treehouse points out in the video of the robbery, this Dorian guy, Dorian Johnson, I believe his name was, he's got a gold and silver bracelet on. And then at the crime scene by the SUV, the police SUV, the mirror's bent and Wilson's bracelet is on the ground. The very bracelet he was wearing, he joined in on the attack. He's the prime witness who said that Darren Wilson gunned down Michael Brown in cold blood. Michael Brown was a thug, all right? Not happy that he's dead. It would have been better had he been injured and gotten to answer for his crimes. Death, not the answer. But don't be fooled, because the race baiters, the pimps like Al Sharpton, I mean, he is got a direct line to the White House, And to Comrade de Blasio, he's in charge of race relations for New York City. This is what the White House wants. They want race riots. They want, I don't know what their motivation is for it, but this is what they're about. So don't be fooled. Brown got what he had coming to him. Good riddance. I mean, it's a shame. He was somebody's son, and you can only imagine the hurt, the horror that they feel about it. But the guy was a thug. Let it go. On that note, just remember, give Tom Cloud a call, 800-247-2812, 800-247-2812. Make sure you go over, check out financialsurvivalnetwork.com, sign up for our newsletter, check out the articles that Stefan, the webmaster, is pulling in from all over the web, alternative financial information that is telling the truth, not the lies that the mainstream media perpetrates and wants you to believe. While you're at it, support the show, clubfsn.com, clubfsn.com, whatever you want to send, $1 a month, 2, 5, 10, whatever you feel. If you think the show has value for you, if you think that we perform a valuable service for you and for others, then please help us out. We'd like to get this video channel going the first quarter of 2015. Anyway, hope you all had a great Thanksgiving. Talk to you soon. Kerry Lutz signing off. It's been another Triple Lutz Report.
FSN Radio. It's all about what's next. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and sign up for your free weekly newsletter. You'll also get 3 free reports. The Financial Survival Network. It's all about what's next.